Thwarting divorce for lifelong love. You may find this interesting because I am talking about something we don't want, divorce. Yes, that's what this episode is all about, the opposite of what we want, which is lifelong love and commitment. Knowledge is power. So we need to know the stats and we need to know the little pitfalls along the way and what will help you get a lifelong marriage and thwart divorce. These statistics are going to be very interesting for you because you want to know what years are the most pivotal so that you get over the humps and you thwart everything that is going to hurt your possibilities for lifelong love and commitment. So without further delay, let's get right to the numbers and information that you're going to need to go the distance in your love life.
I feel like you've gotten me unstuck. I really needed that framework for going forward, and I feel like you gave that to me.
Whatever I've been doing hasn't been working. Might as well try a different strategy. Thanks to you, Paula. I'm glad I found you.
Thank you so much, Paula. I really do truly appreciate you. This was awesome.
Sick of sacrificing or settling in your romantic life? Welcome to Make Him Wonder with Coach Paula Grooms, where women struggling in real relationships ask the expert. Unscripted, unfiltered, understandable coaching conversations to help passionate women succeed in love.
Hi there, and welcome to Season 5 of Make Him Wonder. So happy to be your host for the 4 wonder-filled seasons of over 200 episodes of real coaching conversations with women wanting to make the most of their love life by getting a real coaching session on their situation, be it getting an ex back, being in a friends with benefits situation, being an older woman with a younger man, or anything and everything in between. As always, I'm your host, Coach Paula, a dating and relationship coach for women, social worker, and author of the book, Why Won't He Commit? How a Man Decides to Make You the One. I help you find a Mr. Right, get an ex back, or grow an existing relationship or situationship so you can create the relationship of your dreams and level up to the complete commitment you totally deserve. In this first episode of Season 5, I thought it would be interesting to discuss a topic that an 80/20 Wonder Club member wrote to me asking about and expound on it via statistics and my perspective. And that topic is divorce. Yes, we don't tend to talk about divorce in this way I'm going to here, as I mostly speak to women who are looking to get commitment in marriage, even if they are divorced from a first or second husband, etc. But as I am all about you understanding how men love, commit, and bond, coming at the topic from the reverse or the opposite side of the spectrum, i.e. divorce, can be quite helpful. So I'm going to read you this question as I got it from this Wonder Woman. Coach Paula, I'm a longtime fan. I believe you are doing such important work. If you can address this question on one of your episodes, I would find your answer useful. I am wondering about situations where men are forced by culture to marry because a girl becomes pregnant. Are these men, quote unquote, making a decision in the same way as other men? Are these marriages more susceptible to cheating and dissatisfaction? And do you have any statistics about this? So you know by listening to previous seasons, if you have, that divorces statistically are brought to the table, so to speak, by women much more so than by men. There have been articles written about this as to the why. And as I get into telling you about how men love, commit, and bond, you may understand why that is. And of course, there are cultural and situational reasons for it as well. Let's go over some statistics. As of 2022, that's the most recent I have found in a comprehensive way. In 2022, in the United States, a total of 989,000 divorces took place. During that same year, 2,065,905,000 marriages occurred, with a U.S. marriage rate of 6.2 per 1,000 people. What does that say? Far more people get married over the course of each year than get divorced. And this is from statistics compiled in an article in Forbes, where they combined research from the U.S. Census, the CDC, and Pew Research. So generally what we know and what I've talked about in the past is true, that a little less than half of first marriages end in divorce. That's a bit of an exaggeration, but of course when we talk about it, we tend to make it more simple to remember. But 43% of first marriages end in divorce. That's a little bit better than thinking about it as 50%, which most people do. And actually, as the divorce rate has gone down, it used to be more towards the 50%. Now it's at 43%. Great. Second and third marriages actually fail at a far higher rate. It used to be 62% of second marriages. Now it's at 60%. And 73%, that stayed stable, of third marriages end in divorce. So it appears we don't get better with marriages. We actually fail more if we marry more than once. Just some interesting things here. The average length of a marriage prior to divorce is 8 years. That kind of goes along with the old adage you might have heard, and there was a movie in the 50s, I believe. Well, probably not 50s, maybe 60s. The 7-Year Itch, which actually is somewhat anthropological of why there is a quote-unquote 7-year itch, which when a divorce happens, we know that a couple typically has been separated or out of a marriage, because divorces can take up to a year. So this makes sense. 8 years is the length of time before a typical divorce. The 7-year itch relates to something that we have had in our human lineage, which is pair bonding. Was very useful back when we were in the wild as the human animal, Homo sapiens in the wild thousands and thousands of years ago, whereby a pair bond would happen, a child would come out of that pair bond, and it would take about 7 years for that child to be safe on its own should something happen to either one of the parents. Interesting. Makes sense. So now we come to modern day. Much easier in a way to divorce anywhere along the line, but still most people don't tend to divorce with very young children. And that can be good for the children, again, if it is done for the interest of the children, that the couple stays together and is mindful of how they need to behave while staying together. Interesting fact, fewer people are remarrying after divorce than they did in the past. In 2008, there were 48.9 remarriages per 1,000 previously married males, and just 25.2 remarriages per 1,000 previously married females. Wow, that's a big difference. I have my feelings as to why that is, and you may want to take stock of that, ladies, because men do better in marriage. Again, this is an overarching statistic. Men live longer, and I believe they do much better socially when in a relationship with a woman. So divorce trends over time, nice to see that divorce has decreased from 4.0 to 2.4 since 2000. This means in 2000, a total of 944,000 divorces and annulments occurred. By 2022, 22 years later, it had fallen to 2.4 per 1,000. So in 2000, the crude divorce rate was 4.0 per 1,000 during that year. By 2022, it had fallen to 2.4 per 1,000. However, the marriage rate has declined as well, dropping from 8.2 per 1,000 in 2000 to 6.2 per 1,000 in 2021. 40% of new marriages now include a partner who is remarrying. Most marriages, 60%, are first marriages for both partners, but as many as 20% of unions involve one person who's been married before, while another 20% are repeat marriages for both parties. And 6% of divorced couples remarry each other. I was talking to a client about this the other day. I am all for people growing and becoming a couple again, because most couples do not divorce because the love has died, and it can be rekindled. And when children are involved, the couple has grown, they've worked things out. I'm all for a couple remarrying. How wonderful. A full 72% of reunited couples remain married after marrying each other again. That's great to hear. In mentioning that men do better in marriage, here's what I'm referring to. Divorced men bear the brunt of an increased risk of early death, with mortality rates of 1,772 per 1,000 compared to divorced women. For context, in 2022, the life expectancy for men in the U.S. was 74.8 years compared to 80.2 years for women. Gray divorce is a term now used for those who end a marriage at 50 or older. When these late divorces occur, women pay a heavier price. They experience decline in their standard of living. But here's what I wanted to get to about first marriages that is so important for most of you here listening, because living together has become such a big part of our social fabric, but it actually hurts us as women. Even if we marry after living together, that's what's so interesting about it. A 2018 study showed that cohabitation before marriage was associated with a lower risk of divorce in the first year of marriage, but a higher risk thereafter. Among those who lived together before engagement, that is key, before engagement, 34% of marriages ended in divorce. By contrast, just 22% of couples who waited until after marriage or engagement to cohabitate ended up dissolving their union. Now, the Forbes article, again, where they are drawing from their statistics, they say many factors explain this, including the fact that couples with stronger religious beliefs may be both less likely to live together before marriage and less likely to divorce. I agree with that. But I'm going to come at this from my vantage point of how men make their decisions to commit and then bond. And that a man who makes a decision and then bonds to a woman from that decision is going to attempt to work things out in a way with a wife, meaning that a man who lives with a woman before he's made a decision via engagement. Make no mistake, when a man gets engaged, he makes a decision, and men do all that they can to live up to their decisions. Men want to prove to the world that their decisions are good ones and that they don't fail. Women commit and bond through time and sex. Men can commit not from the feelings of loving a woman, having sex with her, and spending time, but they only bond by making a decision to commit to her through that. It is the puppy principle in my book. Men love all of us, big, small, short, tall, black, white, red, everything in between. If we are a woman within a certain age range and whatever they like, they will be attracted and want to be around the puppy, pet the puppy, etc., just like we do with puppies. When we love puppies, we love them all. Big, small, short, tall, black, white, everything from the cutest little chihuahua to the biggest mastiff. There is something wonderful and special and draws us to that creature. But we must make a decision to adopt according to a set of criteria, typically, that men have in the same way. We must, in order to adopt a puppy, we must be financially set, be able to be responsible to and for that creature. And once we make the decision, we, on average, attempt to live up to that decision no matter what. Yes, people do give puppies back, take them to shelters, etc. But again, this is not a human being, it's an analogy. But once we make that creature our own from making the decision to adopt, we do all we can typically to live up to that decision. And we bond to that creature in a way that we are not bonded to other cute puppies, even though we love them all. And when we go out and we see puppies on the street, we pet them and we can even love on them, but we will stay committed and bonded to the one we adopted. This is what men do by making a decision to commit to a woman. And because men live via their decisions in a way that we do not, while of course when we make decisions we do our best to stick with them, but we as women live via our emotions generally. If we don't feel something is right, we don't want to stick with it in a way that men do, because culturally other men look askance at another man living by his feelings. You will hear things like, "You just need to suck it up, man. Don't be a wuss." This fundamentally is why I believe that divorces are brought by women. Now, there are all manner of things out there that men don't want to lose the money in a divorce. They don't want to be separated from their children. Yes, of course, that comes into it. I think there is something deeper at play most typically, and men don't want their decisions to be wrong, and they want to live up to those decisions because that's what it means to be a man. And in my book, I have another chapter on this. It's my sports supposition. It is why men, once they make a decision, a la they watch a particular team, that is their team. Even if they just watch that team, they think of it as their team. They've committed to that team. And no matter if that team never wins a game, never wins a pennant or a trophy or whatever else they win in whatever sport it is, it's still their team and they don't leave it. It's just male. So it does speak to why it is important for us to get formal public commitments from men. And for women who cannot legally marry again for whatever reason, typically that's financial, estates, what have you, there can still be a commitment ceremony that is formal and public that allows for that man to bond in a bigger way. So if we look at, well, why would it be then that if you live together before engagement, you have a much greater chance of divorcing after the first year than if you didn't? I believe it's very simple, that when two people live together, it just kind of occurred. It can happen for financial reasons. It's just easier. And two people live together. The man never made the decision prior to moving in, so he did not commit and bond, even if down the road he agrees to get married. It's more like sliding into something rather than making a clear-cut decision. A woman who will not live with a man prior to engagement shows him how she values herself, and especially in younger years, whereby you want to make sure when marrying, and children could be involved, how you value yourself and how important it is that you know you have his full and complete commitment for the long run. So, to the question of this Wonder Woman, are men who marry because a girl becomes pregnant, are they making a decision in the same way as other men? That truly depends. There can be so many variables here. Was he planning on marrying down the road and this just moves it up a little? Is he the kind of man culturally that no matter what, if he says yes to marrying, no matter what it's about, pregnancy or something else, is he making a decision? We just don't really know, and there are no statistics about this specifically. It would be a tough statistic to find. Are they more susceptible to cheating and dissatisfaction? There's also no way to really know, because even if we did a study whereby men had married due to a pregnancy, there is no way to qualify for, did he make the decision? It's a very interesting puzzle, so to speak. There are too many different pieces to fit together to get a full picture. It's going to generally be case by case. It would be fascinating to see, and I think there could be a study done, possibly, whereby, for example, as in living together prior to engagement, does that foster a higher percentage of divorce if a baby comes into play prior to engagement or marriage? Does that precipitate a higher percentage of divorce? What I'm saying to the Wonder Woman asking is, I don't know, and it would go on the specifics. Because a man having a child, woman too, changes him, makes him the most responsible he can be, I believe. That's, again, just my belief. But I think we see that with many men. It changes them from boy to man to the degree possible for that man. In regards to infidelity, 60% of divorced couples cited infidelity as a reason for their divorce. Interesting that lack of commitment is the most common reason for divorce. But again, the fact that most divorces occur around the 8-year mark, does that mean that they did not go into it fully committed? It's a big question. And again, because women bring divorce to the table, 69% of divorces are initiated by women. So we might say that it's not the man's lack of commitment. 69% is 70% of divorces are initiated by women, because women live by their emotions. Men live by their decisions. Now, we can say, again, things like women often carry more of the load in terms of the work and the caregiving of the children, etc. And when they feel their support system is lacking, they may want a divorce. But if this is true and it's about financial well-being, women tend to do much worse financially with divorce, so that doesn't really play out or make sense. In other words, if women wanted to be supported more financially and some help with the children, better to stay married than be a single mom. So it doesn't make sense with what most are saying, and certainly this article, that it's about the stress of finances and childcare, that 70% of divorces are initiated by women. No, it's because women want an emotionally viable relationship in a way that a man will suck it up. And sometimes we can say also cheat, because men feel that their primary responsibility, because he made a decision to commit to the woman, take on the responsibility, he sees commitment as being, instead of divorcing when there are issues, he may cheat because he feels it's the right thing to do to stay married, because he made that commitment. Because men don't relate via their emotions. They sometimes don't even understand why it would be so hurtful or a cause of divorce if they cheat. Now you might say, well, if I did it as the woman, oh yeah, yes. Another inconvenient truth, that what is good for the goose is good for the gander, and that everything is reciprocal. It's not. This is due to many factors. I speak about here. Men are injured much more so foundationally by a wife or partner cheating. I am not making excuses for it, and I am not saying that it doesn't hurt women immensely, but it goes to the core of who a man is. It affects his worth and value not only within the relationship itself, but publicly in a way that it doesn't as much for a woman. Because for the man, he connotes it that others, especially other men, see him as less than, not enough, not sexually adequate to satisfy a woman. Performance, ego, it is all of that in a bag of chips. Interesting that different vocations have different divorce rates. I actually didn't think of it in this way, and that was an interesting part of this article. Divorce statistics show that a person's job can affect the likelihood of their marriage ending. The highest rates of divorce by occupation are, number one, at 52.9% divorce rate, gaming manager. Go figure. Second, 52.7%, bartender. Makes sense? I think of both of those as working at night, working in situations whereby there's alcohol, typically in both, and a milieu that is more about singles and fun, so forth. Third, flight attendants at a divorce rate of 50.5%. Well, travel. But specifically flight attendants, that's interesting. Fourth, at 50.3%, gaming service workers. Again, the gaming industry, let's stay away from that. Number 5, at 50.1%, rolling machine setters. Gonna be honest, I don't know what that is. 6, switchboard operators, 49.7%. Don't really get that one either. 7, extruding and drawing machine setters, 49.6%. And again, between the 48 and 49%, it goes 8, telemarketers, 9, textile machine operators, and 10, compacting machine setters, operators, and tenders. Actuaries have the lowest divorce rate. That's very interesting. Numbers, guys. Lowest divorce rate. Actuaries, for example, have the lowest rate of divorce at just 17%. This is somewhat in keeping with the higher you go up in education level, the lower the divorce rate. So the top 10, starting at 17.0% with actuaries, goes all the way to 21.8%, not a big spread, and it is. Number 2, physical scientists, medical scientists, clergy, makes sense, software developers, physical therapists, optometrists, chemical engineers, religious and education directors, and number 10, physicians and surgeons. As far as industries, architecture and engineering industries have the lowest divorce rate. Office and administration industry has the highest divorce rate. Fascinating. And the divorce rate steadily decreases from 40% to 30% as income increases. This makes sense as the number one cause of divorce, aside from what people are citing as incompatibility over time. Incompatibility over time is income, financial issues and woes. As far as age, the average age of people divorced in 2022 is 46 for men and 44 for women. And the median age of a first marriage is increasing to 30.5 years for men and 28.6 years for women. College-educated women are most likely to have a lasting marriage. And those who have religious leanings, what's interesting, doesn't mean that you have a less chance of being divorced. The religion with the lowest divorce population is Hindu. 60% of the Hindu population is married. Just 5% of members of this demographic group are divorced. Very, very interesting to me that the religion with the highest divorced population is evangelical Protestants. Evangelical Protestants divorce at a higher rate than any other religious group. 55% of this population is married, 14% are divorced. That is more than double the percentage of divorced Hindus. People without a religious affiliation have a divorced population of 11%. Statistics are not at all clear whether children put such a strain on marriage as to increase the likelihood of divorce. Having more children does not increase the risk of divorce. The good news for parents who want large families is that more kids do not increase the risk of divorce. While 17% of couples with 2 children experience divorce, this number dropped to 13% of couples with 3 children. So I hope you found this interesting in terms of looking at love and lifelong relationships from the flip side or opposite side. I like to look at relationships from all angles. Any increased understanding of things helps us to increase our likelihood of staying married or partnered. That's what I'm all about here. That's why you are here. If you're listening on your favorite podcasting platforms such as Spotify, Apple, iHeart, etc., Season 5 is going to air every 2 weeks now. So I encourage you to take advantage of getting weekly content and help with your love life by joining the 80/20 Wonder Club. For less than the cost of a large latte a month, you can get a brand new episode the moment it is formatted and ready to be aired, in full and ad-free. You also get my Making Magic with Men Mindset Manual video series to help you focus on a goal or help with a sticking point in your relationship, your mindset, or your manifestation. And as a bonus, no matter whether you join monthly with the ability to cancel at any time or commit to a 6 or 12-month membership, whereby you can get a full coaching intensive with me, you now get access to talk with me weekly. Yes, talk with me, asking me anything on any of my YouTube lives. By becoming a member, you can be on an audio-only anonymous discussion with me on a live, helping other women, hearing your question, and getting the answer to any question you have. Check out what talking to me on a YouTube live is like by going to Coach Paula Grooms at YouTube, clicking on the live tab, and for example, watching Why It Feels Like All Men Are Avoidant to Love and Commitment. You can put that in the YouTube URL and find that. Why It Feels Like All Men Are Avoidant to Love and Commitment. In this live, I explain why, if you are 30 or over, it's not all in your head that you feel like nearly every man you meet is avoidant. And I talk with a fellow 80/20 Wonder Club member, Ashley, about her experience and struggle with her anxiety over her situation with an avoidant man. Go now to the 8020wonder.club and sign up for a month with no obligation, or get more with a discounted 6 or 12-month membership. You and your love will be happy you did, and you'll start leveling up to getting all that you desire and deserve. And with that, welcome to Season 5. Thank you for all your love and support from day one to now. And as always, I'll remind you to start leveling up by remembering, with any man in your life, to make him wonder. I trust you got a lot of good information from this full episode of Make Him Wonder. But information is not transformation. So if you are continuing to get information but not make any movement towards your goals, I'd be happy to help you with that. You can have a personalized discussion with me here on the podcast, as you may have heard, or in a private consultation. You can also talk to me on any of my YouTube or Instagram lives. There is a way we are doing that now so we can actually talk with one another anonymously. There are so many ways that we can work together. If you are wanting to find a Mr. Right, get an ex back, or grow an existing relationship with a man you truly desire so you create the relationship of your dreams and level up to the complete commitment you totally deserve, I hope you will take action and reach out to me at CoachPaulaGrooms.com, as I am honored to help you get the relationship you desire and deserve.